hair, hair fluffed up, always. Always turns flat. As soon as I press the record button, it just goes totally flat.
I have that same issue. I feel your pain.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Monday, and this is me, Kasia Avery. Again, this is the last day of our Wanderlust Live Weekend, and I am super excited for all of you who participated. I don't know how many videos and lessons each one of you followed, but I can just sense you're all buzzing to just let your creativity out and create some art with us. We will start slowly today. We will start with Mary Beth Shaw, who's with me right here, and I am really, really happy to see that beautiful face again. Hello, Mary.
Thank you, gosh. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Well, Mary Beth is not only, just so you know, people, not only the brain, the talent, the amazing skill behind the StencilGirl, not only the amazing artist who inspires thousands of people all over the world, but also, lucky us, a guest host on Wanderlust 23. Thank you very much for doing this. And that means you're going to be teaching quite a few lessons in
I can't wait.
Subjects.
The Wanderlust students are the best. And every year I get so excited with the feedback from the students and the, I don't know, just the lovely atmosphere that it has been created, that you and Jamie have created. It's really great.
Well, it's also obviously who started it, but thanks to all the teachers, I think, and the people who join it. Because I think because we show such a big variety of subjects and styles, people feel more open-minded and kind of courageous to try and tackle different things, and that gives everyone probably that sense of I'm allowed to be a student here and make mistakes, so everyone's on the same boat. So I think that's what helps make this classroom such a fun place to be. Okay, people, just so you remember, Wanderlust is still at lower price. That's $99. This is only until the end of October. So if you want to book your spot and you still haven't, this is a good time, and definitely use Mary Beth's link, which is underneath this video, to support this artist. And while you do it, or while you're getting ready to do it, we're going to have a little chat with Mary Beth, because I just can't wait to let you get to know Mary Beth a little bit more. Mary Beth, introduce yourself a little. I've done it to some extent, but just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure thing. When I was 40, and that was in the year 2000, I quit my corporate job. It was shocking to my entire family, and I decided to explore a career in creative things. And since then, I have been exploring visual art. I imagined that I would go more towards the writing side, quite honestly, because that's what I had been doing. But all these visual things started pouring out, and one thing led to another. I started painting, collaging, taking classes. I started StencilGirl, and then eventually teaching. And here we are, 22 years later, and I can't imagine life any differently, truly. Oh. Sometimes you just get lucky, you know it?
Well, that's not entirely true. It's not just luck. It's also your talent and a lot of hard work.
It has been a lot of hard work, honestly, but it's been, for the most part, very joyful work, and challenges that are very joyful too, because I love to bring my art into other people's lives and to share what I've learned through the years with others, and to see them grow in their own voice. That's probably my biggest, I don't know, the biggest thing that I like as being a teacher. I just love that when I see that.
And this is
for many years,
this is really obvious. I mean, it's really easy to see, because when you teach, not only you engage all the people who are watching on your live, sometimes when you do on social media, but also just in your lessons, I can always tell that the lessons are done with the viewers in mind. They're not just to showcase yourself, your style, and your skills, but they are just super approachable and really easy to follow. So
thank you. That was something I did specifically a long time ago when I started teaching. I just decided that I was going to just show it all. And even if it was a mistake, I was just going to keep going with it and help people learn that it happens. Everybody makes mistakes. And that's part of the art process, is learning to work through that and challenging yourself to solve it and to move forward. So, yes.
So you are an artist. What you do is art, but I know that for many people, and maybe some of you watching right now, we still, struggle with this thought that art is reserved for masters only, that Van Gogh or Da Vinci, that's artists. But is what we do art? Can we call it art? So what would you say to those people who struggle to call their stuff art?
Yes,
Is mixed media art?
No, I know. And we think of mixed media art. Those of us working in that area today often think, oh, this is something new, the 21st century mixed media art. But this has been around for years and years. I know you're a historian of art as well as I am. And you look back, like somebody like Kurt Schwitters and Picasso and Matisse, they've been doing mixed media things for many, many years. So this is nothing new. And cutting and pasting, people think, is that art? Is that art? I don't know. Ask Matisse. He did it. I don't know. Sometimes it's a big topic. Seriously, what is art? It's kind of a in the eye of the beholder, or is it in the eye of the maker? And that's a big question as well. I remember when I first started on my path with art, I was doing that book with by Julia Cameron. Yeah. And God, why can I never remember the name of the book?
The Artist's Way. Yeah.
Artist's Way, right. Yeah. And part of the book is getting to that place where you can say, I am an artist, because it's difficult. If you're on year one of your artistic journey, to actually claim that word, it can be very difficult. And I think especially in the society we live in today, people think that if you're going to claim the word artist, that has to be somehow connected with monetizing your art, that you need to be earning a living from it, so I think for me, it all comes down to the labels,
Right.
Yeah. They're just words, artist, maker, crafter, I just like using my hands. I mean, look at them. You can tell I've been using them for years. My grandson's laugh. This one's like turning around. It's like a little finger. It's coming into its time of year.
Yes, so it's up to us, right? It's up to us.
I think it is. I really do. And I think it's whether we claim it. As I did start to claim it, because that was a hard journey for me. I didn't think that I was deserving of claiming that word, artist. And it seems so like magical, like somebody had a magic wand and they bestowed this angel dust on your head, and then suddenly you were going to be an artist. And the angels would sing, and and then I just realized, the artists are just people. They are people making art, and it is truly a Bible.
Yeah. But I guess we can look at it also in a way that maybe to be an artist means that you are sensitive and express, whatever is going on internally inside you, right? And you're expressing it with your skills.
Yes. And I think for me, that has led me on a journey where I did want to try to go back and do some of the legwork to feel like I didn't go to art school. I kind of wish I would have. It's like every once in a while I'll dream about like that, like, oh gosh, what would it be if I went back to art school, So I've studied a lot and I've read a lot of books, and the elements and the principles of art are very important to me, to be knowledgeable about those things and to be mindful as I'm teaching, to impart that sort of knowledge to my students so they can be more informed and make decisions about their own work that might be based on some of these principles and elements. It's not to say I don't like a good paint flinging session with no no goal in mind. I love that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, people listening and watching, if you feel like you don't want to call yourself an artist, that this is just too hard and it feels like, you know, maybe there's too much pressure, you don't feel ready, that's fine. If you want to call yourself an artist and you want to totally own it and, you know, be your full total self, go for it. Call yourself an artist. It doesn't really matter, does it? What
No, I
matters
don't
is
think
what we
so.
do.
I don't think so. I really don't. Yeah.
I think what's important is like we don't not call ourselves artists because we don't feel worthy, right?
Right, exactly. I
Yeah.
think it's what comes inside and how you feel about yourself and what you're making. But you know, as you were saying that, it made me think about graffiti artists because I've always been so intrigued with the whole idea of graffiti art because it is developed specifically to be transient. And I find that fascinating that graffiti artists will do the art and fully expect the next guy or the next girl or the next person with a spray bottle to come by and paint over it or add to it. And that's a fascinating thing as well, you know.
Yeah, their art isn't in museums. They don't sell it usually, right? So they
Right.
don't make money, but still they're artists. So
Yeah.
if you feel like you're ready to call yourself an artist, just totally go for it, own it.
Absolutely.
And if you start calling yourself an artist, you can do weird stuff, right? You can be overly sensitive. You can collect weird stones. I'm an artist, right? You can have a
Yes,
mess in your workspace. I'm an artist. More is allowed then. So you're a teacher, fantastic teacher, inspire lots and lots of people, and you have an audience of your fans are extremely, extremely loyal. And I know this because we had you on Wanderlust several times now, and you always bring those people with you. A train of people who just love you and follow you. And I think part of that is because your lessons are structured so people can infuse their personality into those projects that they do with you. So do you have any advice for people who, you know, want to follow the tutorials like in this event or in Wanderlust, but also want to feel like this is their own?
Right. Well, one thing that I do and I buy courses too. So I like to watch yeah, of course I do. And I love to watch other artists create. And one thing I like to do to try to bring it into my own voice and to stay true to myself while I'm watching it is I will just watch the video. I'll just literally sit there and watch the video, have a cup of coffee or whatever. I'm not even in my studio. And then I'll turn the machine off and I won't even think about it until maybe the next day or a couple of days later. And I'll go into the studio and I'll just kind of with loose memory of what's in my head from what I watched, then I try to make something. And I feel like when I do it that way, without this watching step one, pausing it, making it, you know, going back and forth, I feel like it gives me a little bit more freedom to veer off course because I don't remember every little specific detail. And lots of times I'm winging it and I'm like, oh gosh, what did they do after that? You know, and I can't remember, but it gives you a lot of freedom. And so I find that to be really fun, to be influenced by the person.
Yes.
But yeah.
Having said that, though, continue.
Well, maybe not everybody's at that point in their own development too. And I fully get that. So, but for me, that's something that helps me move through influence, be influenced by people, but not be working to like replicate what they've done, but working to bring it into my own style.
That's a great idea. I mean, especially if you're like a beginner on Wanderlust, I think at one of the first lessons, I mean, some of the first lessons you probably want to follow like closely and follow those PDFs because it will probably give you more confidence, right, in what you do. But very soon, if you put your mind into it, you'll be at that stage where Mary Beth is right now, where you can just kind of let those ideas and steps and techniques live in your head for a bit and come out as something completely different than yours.
Yes, I remember a student that I had last year, right, kind of the first in-person classes I taught right after the pandemic was kind of calming down. And she commented to me, she said, well, you make it look so easy. You do it and it looks so easy. And I said, well, I've probably been doing this a little bit longer than you have, And I said, how long have you been doing it? And she admitted that it was her first journal, her first art journal. She was opening it up right there in my class.
What a privilege you had, Mary Beth.
I know. And I said, well, there you go. This is your first time. This is going to just lead to extraordinary discoveries. And yeah.
If someone is actually doing it for the first time, it's a little bit, I think, easier to, be that student and to allow yourself those mistakes. But if you've done a few lessons already, it might be a little harder. You start expecting from yourself, So don't, right? Don't just have that mindset of a student. Yeah.
Go with the flow. And it's almost always the beginning students that make this just incredible work because they don't have any preconceived ideas, and they just literally go for it. And I'm so envious of that, looking at it with truly new eyes approach, because I've been doing this for over 20 years. I don't have those new eyes anymore, and but it's also funny then when I look back at some of my very beginning work too and see how raw it is. Sometimes I long to get back to the real raw,
Right. Yeah, I have that as well. Definitely. Some of my older journals are really nice. It's not maybe the result that's really amazing, but I just remember the feeling, how I was just like,
and that you went for it.
But also regards what you said, what often happens on Wanderlust, and I just totally love it, is like, because we have such a variety of styles and approaches, sometimes students, adventurers who are a little bit more advanced and done a few lessons, they will whiz through a lesson and see, well, the end result isn't really my cup of tea, so I'm not going to do that lesson. But then something, makes them actually do the lesson and they love it. And they, leave us a comment or send us an email saying that this was the best lesson ever for me, even though I thought at the beginning it wasn't my thing. And this happens because they thought it's not their style. They're not going to probably like the end result. So let's just whatever, right? I'm just going to go in and do whatever. It doesn't matter how it looks at the end. They just let go of that control and, approach this with that mindset of a student. And I think that's really amazing. So it's a good
that word control is that's the whole thing is control really is. And I do try to structure my lessons so that there's a lot going on and you start this, let it dry, start this, to navigate back and forth. And I do that very specifically. And that is to help get this out of the way. Because the brain will try to control it all.
Yeah.
And with art making, that's not always the best approach, as you know, right?
Absolutely. Well, that's great. So this corporate job you mentioned at the beginning, what happened? What pushed you to make such a big life change?
I don't know. I was 40 years old, and I think I was I don't know. I was feeling unfulfilled. I had a good job. I made good money. It was responsible. I didn't have problems with my bosses. I worked pretty much on my own. And I just felt like there was more for me in life, that I had to, I don't know, just intuitively, I was like, there's got to be more than this. I was in the insurance business.
Okay. Very different.
And I was on the claims side. So I was managing claims accounts and insurance claims. And that was just all that other side of my brain with all numbers and attorneys and lawsuits. And it was challenging, but in a very different way than art is. And I just truly felt like life had more in store for me. And I didn't know what it was, but I wanted to just explore it,
Oh, so good that you did.
I know, and it was hard. And my husband had a really good job and was supporting us. So I was very lucky in that I was able to just literally quit my job. But he lost his job about, I want to say it was a year, 18 months after I quit my job. And I was just like, oh my God, what do we do now?
What did you do? What did you do?
Well, we were living in California, and we first, tried to see if he could find a job out there. And the market was such that he was an executive, and he's older than me, and it just wasn't going to happen in a time frame that worked for us. So we decided to move from California back here to St. Louis, Missouri, where we live now. His daughter had our first grandson, and it seemed like, oh, that would be great. The grandson, this grandchild could grow up around us, which was something I had when I was a kid. I was around my grandparents a lot, and I really valued that input from them. So, we did that, and my husband, Mr. Money Cruncher, is like, okay, let's support this art career you're trying to build. We'll give you 2 years to make this work. No pressure, honey. And so that was when I started doing the outdoor art fairs and going around, setting up a tent, selling my work. And
oh, that's hard work. Oh,
it's really hard work. It's not for everyone. It's like a little tribe of so many of the same people. You'd follow them around to different towns. And I did have some some success with it for sure. And it worked well enough until the recession hit in 07, 08. And then it became a really tough way to earn a living. And that's when I transitioned to teaching.
Right.
And then once I started teaching, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the bomb. You can do it indoors. You don't have to stand in a tent all weekend. It's like, if it starts raining, you're inside, like, this is the best.
But I'm also thinking, so you were just like going on those shows and selling your art, right? So wasn't it hard for you because obviously there would be a lot of visitors and people looking at your art and some not liking it, I bet, and some loving it. So wasn't that kind of hard, especially like you were at the beginning of that journey, to see people just walking past your really personal stuff? And
you have to develop a thick skin pretty quickly. Pardon me. One of the worst I remember was one year we decided to go down to Florida. We thought, oh, this will be great. We'll go to Florida for the winter. It's warmer. Do some shows down there, be in warmer weather. We're in the Boca Raton Museum show. Sounds very elite because it is kind of elite. And I was happy to get in it. And there were literally dogs at the show wearing clothes more expensive than my clothes. Literally. There, I remember this one little dog
crowd.
I know, this one little dog had 4 little pink suede boots on. It was the cutest thing I've ever seen. But I was doing really more whimsical work back in those days with vintage collage elements and funny sayings. And boy, that Boca crowd did not get it at all. It was just awful. It was awful. Awful.
Sorry.
I know.
I can imagine.
But you do get a thick skin. Yeah.
So
and
now when
it's negated by that one special person that the art is so meaningful to them. And the art resonates with them on a level. And then you get into this exchange where you just realize that the emotion I put into making the art has been received by that person. And oh gosh, that's just such a special moment.
Yes, Mrs. So now you have StencilGirl, and it's a very successful business. So I can imagine there's a lot of work for you to do. You constantly have new designers, so I can just envision what it is like to be Mary Beth. A little bit.
Well, I have to be careful not to go back into like a corporate sort of realm or
Mm.
corporate mentality, because I've been there, I've done that, and that's why I walked away from it. And so I remind my business partners of that occasionally when I, AKA MB's throwing a fit, you know. I'm like, I need time because I know now that making art is so important to my soul that if I don't do it,
How do you find time?
well, I just have I have little
Oh.
setups here and there. It's hard. At home, I have a little table and I have things out on it that are in process. And literally, I will give myself 5 minutes and I'll just go by and I'll be like 5 minutes. Okay. And I have like maybe 3 pieces in process. And I'll just add like a quick layer. And sometimes if I have flexibility in my day, that will lead to more time, which is ideal.
Yeah.
Sometimes 5 minutes is all I get, but it's critical. It's absolutely critical for who I am, you know, because if I don't do that, I feel like my ideas start to dry up and I'm just not as happy, you know.
I really get that. One little thing you do in your art journal or on a piece of paper can lead to another, right? And
It really can. It
a
really
whole train.
Mhm.
Well, thank you very much, Mary Beth. It was great to chat to you and to learn more about you. And it's always a big, big pleasure to see your smiling face and
Thank you, Kasia.
to hear your story.
Same.
Thank you, everyone who watched this, listened to it. Remember, there's a link to sign up to Wanderlust 23, where Mary Beth Shaw is a guest host, so teaches several lessons. She's got a strong presence on this course, and she'll be sharing more of her wisdom and talent with us. So thank you very much, and see you again soon.
All righty. Bye-bye.